Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together and talk about movies, TV, and online content. Help you answer the question, should actors just avoid all fan conventions while this strike's going on? Yes. Yes, they should. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Join me today, Dylan Blatt.
Yes, they should.
Yeah. If you need context, on the back of Stephen Amell making comments about the strike and getting crucified on the internet, Zachary Levi made similar comments at a fan convention, also get crucified. Admittedly, both kind of out of context. But yeah. Any anti-strike sentiment at the moment is not being meant well by the internet.
Shockingly.
So, just cancel your event, Just don't go, Those fans, they'll live. Heaven forbid they have to wait another year to...
I mean, Stephen Amell walked so Zachary Levi could run, you know what I
mean? Yeah. All right. On today's episode, we'll be talking about watching the Wall Street, jumping over some film news, giving some thumbs to trailers, and discussing this week's top 3, as well as delivering an important PSA. Kick things off over on Platinum Explosion. We've did a spoiler cast for the upcoming movie Gran Turismo, based on a true story. The story of Jan something. Story.
I've still got. Hold on. Fucking where is it? Jan Mardenborough.
Jan Mardenborough, who really good at Gran Turismo, wins a competition, Gran Turismo competition to become a professional driver, and events ensue. Starring David Harbour and Orlando Bloom. Dylan, what do you think of Gran Turismo, based on true story?
Yes, based on true story. I don't actually think that's a subtitle. I think that's just that's not in the actual
I've seen
title.
it.
I mean, the worst was when
my ticket literally said Gran Turismo, based on a true story.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Okay. I don't get real movie tickets, so that's why I don't. The funniest one to me was when the email came through for the last trailer, and the subject line just started with "This actually happened." I was like, "What the fuck's this?" And then I click on it, I'm like, "Oh, Gran Turismo." Right. Anyway, yeah, it's very good. It's I quite enjoyed it. It's formulaic, however, I'm a sucker for a good car racing movie, and this nearly hits all the right notes for me. To make, like, it's not going to be a classic. It's not anything like that, but it's definitely a highly watchable, good, true story sports film. It's not at all a video game movie or anything like that, which is totally fine. You get out of the game stuff like 30 minutes into it, I think, and that's all about cars, and it's good stuff. David Harbour is absolutely fantastic in it. He gives it his all, and he's the emotional heart of the film, I believe. Orlando Bloom is on drugs, I think, I'm not sure, and sound design, the cars, that's the stuff I love the most, and I really got invested into the races, heart pounding as they come flying around corners, and you're like, will he make it, all that sort of stuff. So I definitely would recommend checking this out in cinemas.
Yeah, I had a really good time as well. Like you said, kind of formulaic in elements, like you got the dad who doesn't believe in his son, although he has a weird alternate choice of career for him. And the cocky
fans.
It's not he's got a weird you've got the classic rival who is a bad boy and the rich arrogant kid. But yeah, I think David Harbour is fantastic. Really elevates it. The racing is really good. The ties to the video game are really cool. I'm sure as hardcore fans will be pick up all these small details, like the UI that they use and the placement, and even just probably the camera angles and that kind of stuff that would be important to fans and that kind of stuff. But I thought they were super respectful, and then obviously they go to polyphonic at some points, and or is it polyphony? Polyphony sounds right. The actual studio.
Yes.
I thought it was really good. Surprisingly solid sports film. Very enjoyable. I would recommend checking it out in the cinemas if you're into that genre of film, if you enjoyed something like a Ford v Ferrari or a Rush, this would be worth your time. A dad movie, some could call them.
Yeah. Boy,
Yeah.
dads. You know, I have your
Just-
car and your motors,
Yeah,
lad.
take your dad for Father's Day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. All right. So we both went out and watched Meg 2, The Trench, sequel to The Meg.
There's a megalodon.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of megalodons.
There's more than one megalodon.
We pick up 5 years after the events of the first film. Jonas Taylor fighting environmental crimes, but is working for his brother-in-law's company because he, I guess, he got together with
Well, behind,
Suyin.
so yeah, the quick thing is they kill off behind the scenes the love interest from the first film, but the girl who played the daughter in that is still the same. That's still the same actress, and she's now older, so that's the connection. But they must have got married. I'm not sure. Anyway,
he's
Jason
got custody,
Statham,
is what I gathered.
Yes, Jason Statham now has custody, and he has a daughter in this one, basically.
Yeah, so they're still researching the trench. They've dived down there several times since. They dive down there again, and megalodons happen. Turns out that there's twists and turns and betrayals and swimming. Dylan, what did you think of the Meg 2, The Trench?
I'll tell you what I think. This movie does one of my favorite things, which is there's a character who, before they're revealed they're evil, they wear glasses. And then they're revealed they're evil, they no longer wear the glasses.
Fake glasses all on.
I was like, I knew it! Fucking. I actually think this is better than the first one. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
Hot take.
I think this movie is two sides of like just two different films, and for some reason I quite I don't want to say this is a good film, like, but that's it took my fancy is how I would put it. So you got the first half of the movie, and this is like the more serious side. This is they go down into a trench and some shit happens and they get stuck down there and they need to find a way out. Their ships are like crashed. So they're like out in the surface. They're walking around. It's like a very tense. I like the way it's shot. You got fucking megalodons flying around. They're trying to sneak around. It's all very tense and stuff like that. Megalodons. And then you got the second half of the movie when they're back out in the front and on top of the land, normal Earth, human side stuff. And this is just where shit goes absolutely crazy. And the movie's like, let's just have fun. It's like it was directed by two different people, because I feel like the first half is like trying to be a serious sort of I don't know, like monster movie sort of sci-fi thing, and then the second half is just wild. Because my favorite part of this movie is Jingwu. I think he's fucking fantastic. However, he's fucking fantastic in the second half of the movie, because the first half of the movie they're like, you're like, so you're the brother of the girl, and Jason Statham married her, and like you're now got your niece here, so you got to be like a role model. And he does some wild shit in the first 5 minutes where he nearly gets eaten by a shark, and you're like, this dude's a little bit weird, but whatever. And then he like acts pretty cool, and you're like, this dude's okay, whatever, like cool story. And then when they get out and you get into the second half of the movie, my man's just having the time of his life, and I was loving every second of it. He's got some wild scenes, and I just found him highly charismatic, and and I know he's a movie star from China, right? Yeah, so he's like massive for a bunch of their action films and and all that sort of stuff. So like a lot of those movies have wild action scenes, and he just commits to them, and that's what he gets to do in the second half of this movie. I mean, yeah, I would say that I nearly choked my drink as Jason Statham killed the final megalodon in this movie, and how he did it, because it was fucking amazing. But I feel like there's I'm not going to say this is a good movie, much like I'm not going to say the first Meg was a good movie, but I actually think I'm going to commit and say that I enjoyed it more than the first for some reason. Maybe it is just Jingwu. Maybe he's the pushing me over the side element for this, but yeah, I don't know. Who thought this movie would be good, right? You either going, is it terrible? Is it just bad watchable? It's bad watchable.
I enjoyed it for the most part. You know, like, I think I agree that it's definitely a movie of two parts. Like, you've got the the seriousness of the opening, but the first Meg had that as well. Like, it was super serious, and then it kind of got crazier towards the end with the Megs showing up and like just ripping people apart and that kind of stuff. It does, or at least in the final set piece where they actually went to the beach. Like,
Yeah.
this film, they realized that was the most interesting element of that. Let's get that, but bigger. Even though that is definitely still the climax of this movie. Um, they jump over the top. They've got this whole. I feel like the whole betrayal, like digging up resources elements of the film is kind of fine. Jason Statham does get to play the hero, and you get some gory kills at the bottom of the trench as you see some other creatures and stuff down there. There's
This
some
movie, this movie's nearly like Jurassic Park at times. Like,
it is weird. I think my biggest disappointment is you start the movie with a dinosaur and you never see dinosaurs ever again.
yeah, well, I mean, it does skip ahead like 16 billion years or whatever.
That's true. They do die out and that kind of stuff. Clearly, that start of the movie is to set up the little other creatures that show up later.
Well, it's just it brings them forward, but also the movie is just like does the whole this little fly gets eaten by this thing, and then that thing gets eaten by this thing, and then this thing, and then you see the T-Rex, and it's like, all right, the T-Rex is the apex predator, and then the Meg kills it.
Yeah. Which is in spoilers in the trailer.
But
yeah, when it goes crazy, it goes crazy. Just the over the top ridiculousness of some of the stuff, and like, I really enjoy it. Like you said, Jin. What was his name again? Jin Woo. Yeah, super enjoyable. But I also enjoyed Paige Kennedy, who came back from the first film, DJ the engineer, and his having learned from the first film, making sure he learned how to swim, has his survival pack with him at all times, filled with very important stuff. That was super fun. Yeah, I'll say Jim Woo. I feel like if this movie had been made like 20 years ago, would that role would have been played by Jackie Chan, and that's kind of the energy he's bringing. So, yeah, Meg 2. It's not a great movie. It's currently sitting at a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 4.5 critic score, but 72% audience score.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
3.9 average.
The reason we got this, and it was supposed to come out sooner, but COVID and everything else, was because the movie does really, really well box office wise, and so far, so is this one. And the reason
it's made 145 million worldwide so far.
Yeah, so it'll continue on, because the thing is that the movie didn't do that well in the US, and people, I feel like in the US, well, it did fine, but I think people are like, "How's this movie like getting a sequel?" Like, no one cares about it. It's like, well, no, it did massive.
No,
internationally.
look at the second lead, and that's why.
Yes, so they both put a massive Chinese star in the first film. I can't remember the actress's name, but she was the mum of the girl or whatever, and that was part of that.
Li Bingbing.
Yeah, and then they put Jing Wu in this one, and he's a massive star in China, as we just said. So he's going to bring that market over, and you've got Jason Statham to try and bring in the Western audiences, and the movie makes money because of that. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter that it's a dumb action movie. It'll get another one. And I looked up before going to watch this. There is 9 books. This series is based on a book series, and there are 9 fucking books. So they got room for more films.
That's crazy. All right, you went and watched an Australian film the other day, Streets of Colour.
I did. They did. They said Streets of Colour is being toured by I can't remember. Screen Inc. I think is it. Yeah. Does the release for this one. It's directed by Ronnie S. Riscala. Written by as well. Tells the story of Tez, who is a young dude who, I don't know how young, he's supposed to be like 20s, I guess it starts. So the movie does a lot of jumping around. Like, but basically, they say him and his 2 friends, they go out, it introduces you to this like suburban Sydney world. There's a lot of like one of his friends has a brother and his friends who are super racist, and there's a lot of racist words thrown around at the start of the film. And after the first little bit, what ends up happening is Tez's best friend is killed by the one of his other friends' brother, and then the movie skips ahead and like I don't know, can't remember if it was a couple of years or something like that. 2 years, and then the rest of the film deals with Tez is now a drug dealer and a drug addict himself, basically, because of the downfall of that, and like where all those relationships with his other friend, his family that he doesn't talk to anymore. The fact he's not really coping with the loss of his friend, like he still has like visions of him in that night and all this sort of stuff. On paper, as I say that, it sounds like a really interesting and good story, and I definitely feel like there is a like the core story and themes of this movie are interesting, especially like dealing with the addiction and drug dealing of suburban Sydney, and the very multicultural nature of suburban Sydney. The like all these sorts of elements that aren't really put so much on film. Like a lot of, I guess, Australian films either deal with straight up big city or desert, or like, sort of not really suburban lifestyle. And that's sort of where this is going for. My biggest problem with this movie is it nearly just throws way too much at the, like, I don't want to spoil it, but the movie's coming back, like by the time you get to the end and it loops around, and like sort of Tez has like this big religious coming to where he like comes back towards his religion, and it's not like I'm not kind of like saying in a like I hate all religions sort of way. It just didn't work for me personally. I and a lot of the way they try and make this work in the film, it just didn't really work for me. But the number one thing I didn't like is I think this movie's editing is atrocious. And it's really weird because so Ronnie is the writer director. He's editor. Prior to this, done a lot of editing of Australian films and stuff like that, and he's one of the editors credited on this as well. However, there's like fucking a couple other people listed as editors, and I know a couple of them did just the main title sequence or whatever. I was like paying attention to the credits, but then I really feel like there's like maybe too many cooks in the kitchen in that editing room, because the amount of times that I would get sort of whiplash from it cutting from two characters talking to a 0.5 second shot of them from behind for no reason, just to like it's definitely that very amateurish thing of to help the pacing where they're gonna like so like to like help keep the audience. I don't know, it's very I found it very distracting. So the editing is definitely my biggest problem with the movie, outside of it throwing just a lot of elements and stories at the screen. The acting is mostly good. So Raheel Ramahan, who plays Tez, is very good. Most of the other people in it are also very good. Bella Valentini plays the love interest. She's good as well. The only person I didn't like, and is this him here? I'm trying to look at IMDb. Yeah, this dude. Peter Maple plays Gaza. So Gaza is the local stereotypical, like the dude who's like the most drug addict, and he, I mean, is legit. Mate, you give me a fucking drug deal, you fucking like the full most stereotypical, and I'm trying so hard not to laugh. Like it's like it seems like I was watching like a parody of like a fucking meth head, than someone else. But I don't know. I would probably give it like somewhere between like a 5 to a 6. If I have time, I'll probably try and write up a review. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting ideas, and I definitely appreciate the point of view given of this, because the other interesting is you've got this character Tez who also sort of hates his own. Like there's an element of, well, I don't say hate, maybe that's too far, but there's an element, and there's a lot of talk throughout the film of like him hating his own, his own skin color, like, or however you want to put that, sort of thing. That's like sort of thrown in as well. Like he dyes his hair bleach blonde. People make fun of him, want to like say, oh, you want to be like Eminem and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting elements. I just definitely feel like too many cooks in the kitchen for the editing. a few too many random ideas thrown in story wise. Like there's a lot of like there's even a scene where Tez drops off this, like he picks this, he like stops his car, and I have no idea. I would love for someone to explain if I completely miss. There's a scene where he parks his car and this old lady like walks past and he's like gets out, it's like, oh hey Mrs. Whatever. I'm like, okay, so he knows his character. I think the idea is just to show that he knows everyone in this area. Like I think this is the whole point of the scene, but it was just very weird because then he's like, yeah, cool, and he helps the lady, and then she drives her off to the supermarket and then like sneakily puts a few $50 bills in her purse for her after she said some like slightly old lady racist stuff prior to that anyway. And I was like, I think this scene's just to be like, hey, Tez is a good dude, like he's a good dude, but it's just like again like in the structure of the film, I found it like just very weird. Yes, I think it's showing. If you want to check it out, I think it's going to come to Vic. I don't think they announced the times yet, and then it's going to come to. I can't remember where they're going next. Anyway, if you go to, fuck, I can't remember. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll make sure Ash puts it later where you can watch it because they're touring the film at the moment. They had Ronnie was there as well as a few people. They're doing a Q&A after, but I left so we could record. Okay, couch. It's basically how I snuck out the back.
Wow.
I was setting up for the Q&A. I was like, I would stay in another web, but I gotta get going. Sorry, bye.
Well, you could have pushed that episode another hour. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Kieran, it's Kieran guy. He needs to.
Yeah, if
got
he's
life,
if
apparently,
he doesn't get to bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, he's spitting it.
Yeah. So I watched the first episode of The Returning. Thank God You're Here, which debuted on Channel 10. If you never watched Thank God You're Here, it's a show where they get a bunch of comedians and they've got 4 different scenarios. A person just walks through a blue door. They don't know what's on the other side. They go through and they have to like bullshit their way through a scenario with a bunch of improv actors. Like they're like bouncing off them, but clearly have like a clear direction where they want the scene to go. They try to make it as humorous as possible, and then they kind of give away arbitrary awards at the end of the show. Of course, it's 14 years since the show
really
last aired. Yeah,
holy fuck,
which
I
is
feel
crazy.
Old.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing.
God.
But yeah, it only ran 4 seasons. But yeah, finally back now, hosted by Celia Picqualo, rather than Shane Bourne. And rather than having Tom Gleisner judge, they're apparently going to have a guest judge every single week, like giving their thoughts on the different performances and that kind of stuff. So this debut episode featured Aaron Chen, Julie Zamiro, Ursula Carlson, and Mark Bonanno from Auntie Donna. So yeah, they each have a scene, and then at the end there's like a group scene where they kind of all are in the scene at the same time. Enjoyable, definitely brings back an element of nostalgia. I think the only thing that they cut like in the old show, they used to have like during the week they had like a pre-recorded segment that they would shoot like to get them like I guess warmed up for the show or whatever. That's been scrapped, so it's just like the 4 performances and then the final group one. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's been ages since I've watched any of it. Like I feel like I had the box set of like the first 2 or 3 seasons. So yeah, it's really cool to see the show back and like have a new breed of comedians or like actors and that kind of stuff coming back, or getting to do the show. Like obviously like the Auntie Donna guys, I imagine if all 3 of them show up on the show, that's like,
yeah, I mean the main reason I want to watch it is because I saw on Twitter, I saw Auntie Donna like sharing that Mark was on it, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to watch it now. Not to say I didn't like it's not like I had anything against it prior to that. I was like,
No.
normal TV, like that's just turn off. But I guess I watch it on what, 10 Play or what's it on?
10 Play, yes.
Yeah.
So
because I used to watch that religiously. Like I'm pretty sure I can safely say I've watched like at least 90% of the episodes. Maybe I missed some, but it was definitely part of the after school like dinner.
Yeah.
Thank God You're Here routine. Like,
yeah, I don't think people like Hamish Blake or Josh Lawson or Angus Sampson would be as big without a show, you know?
No. And it was always very funny. Like the concept of just, comedian, hey, here's your gear, and just the pre part where it'd be like, so what do you think you're doing? Like, I'm at a beer fest or something, like they'll try and guess or whatever, and they'll walk through the room and they'll be like, "Thank God you're here. You got to deliver a baby." They'll be like, "Okay, not every close." Like,
yeah, and I remember like the weirdest thing to me is it never caught on in the US. Like,
did they try and do it? Or
they try to do one, but they've got such a big improv culture over there
yeah,
that the idea of them going to the seat and then them kind of it's not an improv show. It's like a bullshitting the way through the situation. And it didn't click with audiences, I guess.
it's so funny because you know that one, the Will Arnett thing that they put up, the Netflix show.
Yes.
That I don't know if I said it at the time, but I remember when they put out the trailer for that, I was like, okay, so thank God you're here, but like TV.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my first thought. Like anything like that, I'm like, oh, thank God you're here. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So while I was watching Thank God You're Here, clearly there's ads in between the breaks on 10 Play.
Oh God, here we go.
There's a show.
What shit did you watch?
An ad came up for a show called The Traders. Have you heard of The Traders?
No.
No. So it's based on a Dutch reality TV format in which 24 people go to like a hotel or whatever, and 4 or a certain amount of the people are chosen to be traders, and then it's like a giant game of mafia.
Is
every
this
night
the mole.
it's the mole, except there's no sabotage, no purposely sabotaging the things.
Okay.
So the show every night, they call the faithful, anyone who's not a trader, gets murdered.
Like really killed. That's hardcore.
No, they just get home.
Okay.
So yeah, the traders beat in Traders Tower decide who's going to get murdered, for the day. Everybody comes out to breakfast. Breakfast is a big deal. Everybody, they do make a big thing about them coming through the door, and then, oh, who's the last person who hasn't come through the door? And then it's like, oh my God, they got murdered. And then the day's events happen. They have like a challenge to kind of raise the pot of the way that the pot is $250,000 of sterling silver is what they're trying to work their way up to. It's just a theme thing,
Isn't it pirates? Like that sounds like a pirate thing.
No, because it can go up and down in value at the time. I don't know.
Sure.
But then after that, they have like a banishment ceremony where they have to pick somebody to get banished, hoping to pick out a traitor. So yeah, they kind of have to work out between themselves who's a faithful, who's a traitor, and then try to banish out all the traitors. Because once they get to like the final 2 or like the final 2 people, if one of them is a traitor, they get to keep all the money for themselves.
Right.
If they're both faithful, they can split whatever's money's in the pot. So yeah, it's super interesting. You would think like in a world in which Among Us and these social deduction games like super popular, like this would be pretty boring, but it's super fascinating. And I feel like the key thing here is like the casting. There's like some really interesting people and characters, like really engaging people. And they picked smart people, I feel like, as well, which is something you don't necessarily attribute to reality game shows, I feel like. Like people like try to pick up clues and play like trying to be subtle with different movements and that kind of stuff, and like the games they kind of play, and the psychological games they're trying to play, and like trying to look for social cues and that kind of stuff. And then some of the spanners at the actual game mechanics like throw into the works. Like at some point they're like, we're too low on traders. We need to get more. So you have to recruit more traders. You can ask other people if they want to join your side and that kind of stuff. And then one of the most interesting things from the start is one of the 24 people is a clairvoyant.
So how did they not win?
It's surprise, It's their storyline is quite interesting. Like, but yeah, 12 episodes long, super engaging. Like I feel like it definitely ramps up, and at the end, like, yeah, I just watched the finale yesterday and it was kind of heartbreaking. So, yeah, the other weird thing about this show is that with such a large cast, certain people aren't featured, but they keep surviving. Like, they keep getting the way. Like, there's this old man called Paul. I did not learn what his name was till 7 episodes in.
Why not? They just don't.
He was
pop
just
up
in
on
the
screen.
background.
They don't
He was
pop
just
up.
in the.
Okay.
He wasn't one of the more interesting people, I guess. Like, one of the more talkative,
Fair enough.
like, so he was just there. You just show up at breakfast, walk in. It's like, oh, he's still here.
That's to be a Paul.
And then
for
the
a
numbers
reason,
kind of keep dwindling. And then it was like, oh, Paul. They're like, oh, he must be Paul. Very funny. So, yeah. I would, apparently, huge hit across the world. And apparently the Australian version is one of the preferred versions in the world because it's also screening on other streaming services overseas. Like, that's how, I guess, that works. So, yeah. You can watch it on 10play, or it's on Paramount Plus, along with a few other versions of the Traitors. So, I would recommend it. Dylan, you checked out a documentary, Last Call, when a serial killer stalked queer New York.
Yeah. So this was a HBO Max original documentary, I guess would be the wording. It was really good. It was, I think, 3 episodes. I think that sounds right. It sort of covers this case when I mean, it's a massive hate crime serial killer, basically. But it's quite funny because that's not funny, but the part that is interesting is because the documentary very much focuses on that part. Like, okay, so how come there was a serial killer killing a bunch of queer people across New York City, and the police did nothing about it? And the funny / not funny part, because people died. But there's a part in the first episode where they're interviewing 2 detectives or whatever, and then they go silent for a second. Usually this is where the camera will cut away, or they get asked another question, whatever. And then one of the detectives literally just goes, "Can I just ask something?" And then you hear in the background, "Yeah. Why are you focusing so much of your questions around how the victims were gay? Like, what's that have to do with anything?" Like, it's such a, like, even now, years and years later, they still have like this blinders up of like it had absolutely nothing to do with anything. It didn't matter that it was very obviously a targeted hate crime / like, this is the serial killer was only targeting gay people or queer people. It didn't matter, and that has nothing to do with the case. Like, we don't care.
No, it was a massive coincidence.
Yeah, we didn't like put more effort into it. Like, there was all these calls, of course, from the queer community in New York at the time, obviously because they thought threatened more so than, well, they already felt threatened because AIDS and hate crimes were already a thing. But like, more so like, hey, can we get calling for the mayor to like put more effort on the police to look into this and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, I thought it was really, really good. It's a HBO documentary, so obviously it's a well-produced documentary. It's 4 episodes. I just double checked. Well-produced documentary. And I would suggest checking it out. I found it interesting.
Awesome. Let's jump into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. And you also watched Missing, the Lucy Blackman case.
This was also interesting. So this one is a girl who, I think she's like 21, 22. She is from the UK somewhere, and true story, obviously documentary. But she travels to Japan and she's like working there or whatever, and like she just wants to study and work there or something like that at the time. And then she goes missing, and her father comes down from the UK and ends up like basically pressuring the police again to sort of like spend more time looking into it, because once they go down the road is like there had been a lot of girls at this time or over the years disappearing from this one particular area, and they hadn't really been properly investigated into because they were all primarily white girls or non-Japanese, I guess would be the like way. So that's like a question of the documentary of like, is that a factor into how much effort the police put into it, or is that a factor into how much effort the Japanese media put into like covering this? But once the Lucy Blackman's father comes down, he basically puts press conference on to make this into like a worldwide media storm, to the point that like the Tokyo police have no choice but to spend more time looking into it. And then the reveal, if you want to call it that, but reveal of who the killer was and all that was very fucking weird dude. Obviously, I mean, he's killing people, so obviously weird, but a lot of fucked up shit going on with that person, and I'm glad to see that they got caught ultimately with how this one plays out. But yes, this is another good Netflix documentary.
Awesome. And then you watched the first episode of Heartstopper season 2.
I watched 4, 5. I think I only just checked them off. I forgot to check it out. But yes, Heartstopper season 2 is back. Sorry, I forgot to check them off. Heartstopper is back for season 2. Very good. I think I'm back halfway through the season now. Only half-hour episodes anyway. But feels like it's been ages since the first season. But anyway, I'm glad that when I click play on the first episode, it doesn't autoplay of like a 3-minute thing of the cast talking to you and being like, I played so and so, and in the first season, my character was doing, like, they give you a catch up, which is good, because I remember the core stuff, but then some of the other stuff, I was like, who the fuck's this person again? So this season starts Charlie and Nick now like in a relationship, but the at least for the most part, this first half of the season, it's now focusing on, well, like the first season, Nick came out to his mum as bi, but now the season so far has been dealing with how does Nick come out to other people and who are those people going to be, sort of thing. Because like Nick and Charlie's friendship group knows, but Nick and Charlie's friendship group also includes other queer relationships and stuff, so like that doesn't really count. But then it's like, okay, how about all of Nick's rugby mates, as they love to call them, and stuff like that. I really enjoy this show. It's definitely obviously not going to be for everyone, but because it's very like teen focus, and that's fine, much like the comic book is, I guess. Like and the only part that annoys me, and this is the part where I can tell I'm getting a little bit too old man, is there's a scene where they're like they're fucking texting each other when they're sitting next to each other. They're like, oh my god, I love you, stuff. I'm like, why are you texting each other sitting next to each other? This is bullshit. And there's a lot of scenes of just them texting one another on their phones, which I guess that's how real life relationships work. But also I'm like, it just doesn't always make for good television, I guess. Like, especially when the person's right next to you, that's also just annoying. Get a lot more of the teachers so far in this one, which I've enjoyed. There's a new teacher in this season, Mr. Farouk, I think. He's fucking great. I've been absolutely loving. He gets very angry, but then he shows sides of being very nice at other points throughout the season so far, which has been good. Seeing more of the other core story, I guess, this season is you've got Tao and Elle doing this will they, won't they thing, which I'm enjoying to watch so far, because they build up to that in the first season, but now they're continuing off that. And those characters are getting more time. I definitely feel like some of the other side characters getting more time, so just focusing on Nick and Charlie, which is good, because their story is still obviously the focal point, but I'm also like, there's a lot of other interesting characters. So, really keen. Keep watching more.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's everything on Watch History. Let's move into a little bit of film news. It's still very quiet with all the strikes going on, but interesting piece of news. Spyglass is answering the call once more, throwing a new Scream movie into development. The company has tapped Christopher Landon, a scary movie stalwart whose credits include the Happy Death Day series as well as the body-switching horror comedy Freaky, to direct the 7th installment of the long-running franchise, multiple sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. Landon takes over from Matt Bentinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett, the filmmaking team known as Radio Silence, who helmed the 2022 installment that rebooted and refurbished the movie series. The duo followed the film simply titled Scream with Scream 6, which was released back in March. The duo stepped back in part to focus on an original horror movie for Universal, which currently remains impacted by the actor strike. The duo, known as well as third group member Chad Viella, will now act as executive producers. It's unclear who will be writing Scream 7. James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick wrote the scripts for the recent 2 films. However, Landon is also an established screenwriter, having co-written or written all his directorial efforts In any event, the script aspect won't come into focus until the writer's strike ends. Dylan, what do you think of this news around the Scream franchise?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't know, like, I don't want people burning out. Like, two's like two of the same franchise in a row. I can understand how for anyone that would be like, okay, I need to do something else. You know, like I get it. So I don't, and I wouldn't want them doing it just because for a paycheck, or like if their heart's not in it, I don't want people doing it. So that for everything, not just Scream. So Christopher Landon, I like. So I'm fine with this choice. I haven't watched his most recent film, which was We Have a Ghost on Netflix. Probably should. I mean, it looked pretty avo to me, but I might watch it anyway. But previously, Freaky, I love that movie. I think it's fantastic. It's very funny. Freaky definitely fits within the style of like sort of a Scream. Like, it's got some tense, scary scenes, but also it's Vince Vaughn running around with a girl inside his body, as weird as that is to say, but yes, it's a very funny movie. Happy Death Day, the first one I thought was meh. The second one I really liked. So I'm sort of up down. His Paranormal Activity movie I thought was okay, whichever that one was, I can't remember, but one of the spin-off ones or something. Yeah, so I'm sort of fine with this. I'm okay with this. I think it's a decent pick for to continue the franchise. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see. It would be great to see a completely different point of view, like a female director or something like that. I know I've seen that thrown around a bit. I mean, Christopher Landon, I know, like, he's at least a gay man, so like, there's, you know, it's not just like he's a white dude, but like, it's a straight white dude, like something.
At least he's not a straight white dude.
At least he's not a straight white dude, but yeah, I mean, I can get that point of view of like, can we like get, you know, it would be great to see a female director or something, and it would be. But as far as like out of the people they could have picked, I'm fine with Christopher Landon.
Yeah, I don't have much skin in the game. You know, I haven't watched many of his films, but it seems to be he's more on the comedic side of the spectrum. Rather
he
than
he does funny horror movies. He doesn't do like,
so, you know, that is fitting in with Scream, I guess. Yeah. Which
you could 100% watch
jokes.
You could 100% watch Happy Death Day and Freaky.
Yeah.
You could watch any of those.
But yeah, I guess, you know, we don't necessarily need another one rushed into production straight away. We had 2 in like a 12-month period, so
felt like 2 in like 6 months, but yeah, felt like it.
It felt very short between the 2 movies, like ridiculously short. Like, yeah, I you know, it's fine. I just want to find out what direction they're kind of going with the next movie. Like, that's more important than necessarily who's involved.
The problem is I both want them to keep making Scream movies because I really like Scream as a franchise, but then I also don't want them to keep going where
you don't want to oversaturate.
Yeah, or they release one and they stop because it's hated by everyone, and then that's the last one that's released.
Yeah, you don't want them to do a shit one.
Yeah, you just want the last one to be good. Like, if they stop now, it's like, we're good. But if you make another one, it has to be good, or else you fucking you've stopped on a bad one. You know, like,
yeah, you can't have that. All right. So I saw this article written up on The Guardian. Chaos in the aisles. A cinema etiquette reached an all-time low. An enormous amount has been made lately about Barbie and Oppenheimer reversing the terminal decline of theatrical cinema experience. The films have enmeshed themselves in the cultural conversation in ways that movies simply don't do anymore, and as a result, scores of people who habitually don't go to the cinema are being dragged out to see them. This is a good thing. Anything that prolongs the life of cinema deserves to be celebrated. Which isn't to say it's a perfect outcome, because all these newcomers have clearly forgotten how cinemas are supposed to work. The last few weeks has seen a rash of headlines about a number of regrettable blow-ups that have occurred because people can't seem to remember the basic rules of cinema etiquette anymore. In Maidstone, a woman took her ticketless child into Barbie, an act that results in a stand-up, full-volume physical fight. A Brazilian Barbie screening ended with a similar brawl, apparently because a woman let her child watch YouTube throughout the movie. Nor is this confined to Barbie. In June, a fight broke out at a screening of The Little Mermaid in Florida. In March, the same thing happened in France at the end of Creed 3. Meanwhile, Twitter is awash with tales of poor cinema etiquette, from talking during films to taking photos during films. Dylan, what has gone wrong with people in the cinema?
Don't get me started. I can already burn out on this. You go listen to Arcade Couch for Trent Cushions if you want to hear me rant about this far for now. People are ruining cinema experiences, and anytime I read about any of this sort of stuff, it absolutely frustrates the living fuck out of me. Cinema etiquette is a thing that I thought people should be taught from a young age, and apparently not. And it angers me. It doesn't make me sad. It pure angers me. But when I read these stories and I see these clips of like a woman punching another woman in the face, I'm like, what the fuck? What'd she do to deserve that? And then you read the comments, someone's like, oh, but she was like on her phone the whole movie. I'm like, it deserved.
Yeah. You know? Absolutely agree. You know, there's, you know, you read some of these stories, and you're like, yeah, it's a classic case of an asshole. You know, are you the asshole? I was watching, you letting my child watch YouTube the entire movie. Yeah, he turned out on full volume. Yeah. Ridiculous.
Cinema
Crazy.
is not daycare as much as some people think it should be, and cinema is not. Cinema is
unless
not
it's specifically
home.
a daycare.
Yeah,
like there's some cinemas that have like a children's playground at the front or whatever. Like that's not a place I'd ever want to go, but apparently, you know, if you want to take your kids to that, have at it.
Yeah,
but you know,
it's not.
Don't take your kid to go
see
your
home either. If you cannot watch a movie without talking or opening your phone and checking something and checking your messages, if you can literally not respond to a message or a Snapchat for the 90 minutes, couple hours, whatever it takes, if that's fine. Guess what? You can wait for it to come out on Netflix or home video and you can watch it at home. Because as far as I'm concerned, it is as simple as this. Everyone pays. It's a paid experience, and part of that it should be that maybe I need to start putting cinemas need to start putting the fucking rules on the front door as you enter, and like be like, hey, you agree to follow these upon like entering these premises, and if you don't follow them, start kicking people out. I seriously just think they need to start kicking people out.
I mean, yeah, there's a couple of different options they could go with. One, they could start you know, having specific like put your phone away screenings, you know,
all of them.
Like,
what are you talking about? All of them. That's fucking every screening.
No, like you lock your phone away before you're allowed to enter. You know,
and lockers, and you got a little key, and you have to put them away.
yeah. You know, so nobody can have a phone, or you can only go in if you give your credit card details to insert, and then they keep track of everybody in the seats, and if you're shit, you get fined. Yeah,
I'm down with that.
Down with any of that.
Yeah.
No, or we put shockers on all the chairs.
I'm down with that too.
You know, yeah, lots of good options, but it seems like a lot of people don't know cinema etiquette. So I found a couple of articles with different important points, and I'm going to go through them with you, and you can, you know, how important these are to cinema etiquette, and if you want to add anything. So, phones are mostly not okay. Put that sucker on Do Not Disturb, first of all, and you better be especially raucous special situation if you feel the need to whip it out and film something. Your video of the cinema screen looks like crap and is technically illegal, so the only exception to be made here is if you're in a particularly hyped up screening where others in the audience are loudly losing their minds over some cool thing with Spider-Man or the stars of Triple R just did. If you absolutely need to shake your phone during the movie, hide it away down in your jacket or seat with the brightness dim super low. You're all good to discreetly check the time, but anything longer can wait.
So I would say if you need to quickly check the time, that's fine as long as you remember to check the brightness, turn your brightness down prior, or put your phone in a pocket like they said, so you can like at least like have the brightness not blare in the whole fucking screening from the middle aisle and be like, who the fuck just shone a light from the middle there? Because everyone can see it's a dark room. So that's fine if you want to quickly just turn it on and be like, time, and then quickly put it away if you have to, if I don't know for some reason. Filming the screen, I'm gonna say no. I don't feel like there's any real time when you really need to do that. What was the other thing they said? I don't know.
No, that's kind of it.
That's it. Yeah.
Make sure you just hide it away. Just keep it.
My phone time is also this. So phones when adverts are on, yes. Phones once trailers start and the lights go out, no.
See, I'm fine using my phone during trailers because most of the trailers I've already watched.
Yeah.
But at that point, the lights are down, so that's like a reminder to myself to put the brightness on my phone down as low as possible.
I would
so
say
I know
as
some
long
other
as you
people-
put the brightness down, then I'm okay with it during the trailers. But yeah, so I'd say brightness. Okay, I'll reword it. So brightness, full blown brightness, not caring about anything. Phone during adverts, yes. If you're gonna be on your phone during the trailers, yes, your brightness has to be turned down.
Yeah, because other people have not seen these trailers.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yes. And once
that
the
kind of
movie
stuff.
starts, no fucking phone.
Soon as the company logos come up,
Yeah.
Ooh. No talking, but some whispering is permissible. If I've ever been to a cinema and heard a little squabble break out, it's almost always because one person is too noisy and another person has decided to be more noisy to solve the situation. It's not okay to shout with your friends or commentate the movie as it plays. This is not Mystery Science Theater 3000. So go start a podcast nobody listens to.
Got him.
Awkward. But by the same token, let's not merely flip out if we hear the family in row F murmur once or twice. Give your fellow patrons a few strikes. There's no need to bring a tense vibe to a dark, quiet room full of strangers. This is a scalable rule with whispering much more okay in a sleepy, half-full Sunday morning screening than it would be in a packed festival premiere or on a Friday night blockbuster with barely a spare seat.
Yeah, I'm fine with all of that.
You know, as long as, keep your volume to where only the person next to you can hear.
Yeah. When I say no talking in cinema, if you're with someone and you think of a quick 1 or 2 word quip that you want to quickly whisper to the person you're with, that's fine. And I say whisper, not fucking talk at a normal level so everyone can hear you. But if you find yourself needing to whisper something you think's funny every 5 minutes, then no. I'm talking about like a couple times max a movie, you know?
Yeah. Your armrest to your right. The armrest is on your right. In an ideal world, this would be a universally accepted rule, petty as it is. Sorry, lefties, the majority of folks are right-handed, so if we all leave the cup holder and armrest to your left free, then nobody gets left cradling an icy cup of Diet Coke between their jeans.
Yes, as a lefty, I can still agree with that.
You're a lefty. I don't know.
There you go. I'm a lefty.
I think I knew that. I just forgot. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I know at the reading cinemas here in Brisbane or a lot of good states, they've got like the fold, like a tray thing that's on the right. So that makes it much easier to claim the right armrest. But yeah, if you've got nobody next to you, like, have at it. But
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
if there's no one next to me, I'm a cup holder for one thing and the drink and then a fucking
Drink
pack
and
of
then use the
lollies or
other
something
seats
or
and-
whatever. And yeah, the other seat's got my bag on it. Like that doesn't matter. But yeah, pack cinema. Yes, I agree. The one on the right is your correct one.
yours. Yes.
Yes.
Don't come in and out of the cinema every 5 minutes. Some of us are cursed with bladders that hold about a teaspoon of concession counter Sprite. But if this is you, maybe buy a ticket seated at the end of the row rather than facing Tyler Durden's ass or crotch conundrum in the middle of the movie. Even better, the Run P app can proactively tell nervous pisses the perfect time to duck out a movie without missing any of the good bits.
I would say, I mean, if you need to go to the toilet every 5 minutes, that's maybe go see a doctor.
I think
but...
you have other issues. Maybe movie going isn't for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you need, I just think like if you need to go toilet, like if I have to duck out quickly, you make sure that when you pick your time and you power walk quietly, up and out, no dawdling, no whipping your fucking phone out halfway up that bloody alley and blinding the. Oh jeez, the shit that happens.
Your 2-year-old is not going to appreciate the new A24 thriller.
Yes, moving on.
Becoming a parent shouldn't mean you need to lock yourself in a padded, stinky room with your kiddo and then listen to episodes of Cocomel until they're old enough to ask for things nicely. But much like with air travel, you should have some idea of how your kid will react when confronted with a big, strange room, chair rattling surround sound, and a group of disgruntled randoms who paid good money to have a transporting artistic experience. Yeah, just don't take your kids to the cinemas unless it's a baby, like a baby and Bubs or like there's baby screenings you can go to,
There's baby screens.
know?
Yes.
or find someone to take care of your kid.
Mhm. I understand, and people will be like, "You don't have anyone." I'm like, okay, it sounds really
Cool.
mean, but
Sounds like you just
sounds
have
like
to
a you
sacrifice.
problem.
You got nobody in your life, and yet you want to spend $20 go to watch Barbie day one.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
There's absolutely no world am I going to say that. Yeah, like because you want to watch Barbie with your 6-month-old baby, that you have to go ruin it for everyone else that's paid just because you need to watch Barbie on opening night.
Yeah.
Wait a few days for the baby screening, and you go to that. Sorry.
Yep. Although I did love reading that someone tweeted that someone took their baby toddler to see Oppenheimer with them, and you didn't know which was worse, that they took the baby, or the baby was enthralled for the entire 3 hours. Didn't make a noise. Scary.
Baby knows good cinema,
It does. It's the future of cinema there.
Yeah.
Don't walk out of the cinema and exclaim, "I can't believe it was all a dream," or that the planet was Earth, or that he was dead the whole time. The culture surrounding spoilers can be a bit precious sometimes. If you're naively scrolling on social media the week after a huge episode of The Last of Us, you can't really complain too much about seeing punters eager to discuss it. The stakes are much more fragile in the nasty real world. Consider that as you leave the cinema, you may be walking right past people who would have bought a ticket to the movie that you just blew their mind. You and your friends can make it out of the lobby before ranting about whether or not they just happened to watch what just happened to John Wick.
Yes, I've cut people off. I've gone to the cinema before, like years and years ago, going watching Marvel movies. I've been with, and people have started talking, coming out of the cinema and being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe," and I've literally gone, "Shh, don't." Like I've stopped them from talking until we've left until we've got outside the cinema.
Yeah. Didn't you watch that episode of The Simpsons where Homer spoils?
Yes.
Empire Strikes Back.
I mean,
crazy.
I've been going to the cinema to go to something else. I think it was like the last time I had this happen majorly was Last Jedi. So I'd seen The Last Jedi, and it was like a week later, and I was going to watch something else or whatever. And I've been there going in, and I've seen people walk out of the cinema and be like, "The fucking bullshit! I can't believe they killed Luke Skywalker." Like, so I've, I was like, and I remember thinking, "Are you fucking for real?" Like,
yeah, that's pretty crazy. Also thinking, I think it was Alistair from over at NovaStream. He was talking about being at the Melbourne International Film Festival at the moment, and someone in front of him was talking about in depth, spoiler filled, about one of the other films screening at the Melbourne International Film Festival that he was going to go see. So if you're at a film festival, don't talk about the films in a cinema.
I hope you told them to shut up.
Filled with people who are going to see the other movies. Ridiculous. Craziness. All right. You don't have to laugh at everything. So this one is coming close to thought policing, but it boils down to merely reading the room. I've had a few experiences of seeing a film with some heavy, upsetting scenes, or assault, or intolerance, or just human vulnerability that elicit laughs from select audience members. Humor is deeply subjective. We have no way of knowing why certain moments tickle us, but whether it's out of discomfort or sheer rudeness, you don't need to break everyone out of their narrative illusion by guffawing loudly at something that doesn't work for you. If we want to see that you're way more cool and edgy and callous than the rest of us, we can seek you out on Letterboxd. Until then, can it?
Yes. So as I just said, I really wanted to break out laughing at this terrible drug addicted heroin performance in Streets of Colour, and I kept that shit inside because that would have been very fucking rude. Now, if that person, the director of the film, listens to this podcast and heard me say that, that's different because I'm at this stage. Or if I write a review, that's again different. If that's my thoughts and my feelings on the film,
because that doesn't affect anybody.
Yeah. If I broke out laughing in the middle of the film about that particular performance, I think that would have made me very rude. Yes.
Okay. The cinema isn't a concert. The actors won't hear you cheering for them. In an interview with Empire magazine, Martin Scorsese once compared Marvel movies to theme parks. While fans of superhero movies and your typical summer blockbuster would contest these arguments, it's hard to beat the theme park allegations with the increasingly normal behavior of acting rowdy in the cinema. Just remember that there are other people trying to escape into the cinematic world too. You can show your excitement, but within the confines of your seating space, you don't need to stand up and cheer, throw popcorn, or scream over the surround sound audio. And just because, say, Timothy Chalamet shows up for 30 seconds as a character called Captain Overbite, Optimus Prime busts out a laser sword and shoves it down the T-Rex Transformer's mouth. But
Fuck yeah, dude! That's a Marvel movie thing. That's a Marvel movie thing.
Yeah, you know that you're okay with it or no?
I'll say mostly no. I did not when people were yelling at the screen in Endgame when everyone started coming out of the circles. I feel like I'll make exceptions for special events. Special event films, I'm willing to make an exception. Otherwise, I'd say no. Yes.
Yeah. I think if you're going somewhere day one, it's like day one Endgame or midnight screening of the Star Wars films, you're going to have a different audience than you would for most films.
Yes.
Yes. So, or if you're specifically going to a screening of, say, The Room, where audience participation is going to be a thing.
Yeah, I think it's
don't
different.
Be surprised.
Yeah, I think it's different if you're going to a film that's
if you're going to a karaoke session of a movie school or something like that.
That's different as well.
Yeah. You're only allowed one accidental kick of the chair in front of you. Whether it's true to switching leg positions or simply testing the limits of your leg space, we've all accidentally kicked the chair of the person in front of us. Try as hard as you like, it's just something you can't avoid. And yes, you'll go through the whole awkward motions of the person in front of you, having to turn their head to the side as they acknowledge of, yes, we did in fact feel that. But that's the limit before it becomes bad cinema behavior. Just once. If the person behind you has kicked your seat multiple times and shows no sign of stopping, you're more than entitled to challenge them to a John Wick-style duel at sunrise in Paris.
I'll take one chair kick every 90 minutes.
Okay.
If it's a 3-hour movie, if you accidentally kick the chair in front of you twice, if someone kicked me twice in a 3-hour movie by accident, I'll accept it.
That's fair. Very fair. Don't take your shoes and slippers off in the cinema. An alarming sight I'm starting to see more and more of the cinema is that of people who take off their footwear in the middle of the movie to expose bare feet. Without fail, they also love to pop up said bare feet, so it's even more strikingly apparent to the people in our row. Don't be that person. The cinema is not your living room where you can just put your feet up everywhere. It's not too much to ask to enforce boundaries and hygiene.
I'm going to put an asterisk on this one.
Ooh.
Which may be a hot take. I've worn thongs to the cinema, right?
Mm.
And if I'm sitting on the chair, sometimes I just let's say I'm in my feet. If I sit normally, my feet, like without slouching down, my feet are going to dangle like a few inches off but not touching the floor. You get what I'm saying? Like if I sit normally, my feet aren't flat on the floor. Does that make sense?
I don't know how that's physically possible.
Well, like
how high is these seats?
Well, like if I'm sitting leaning all the way back, so I don't know. Like in some cinemas, I've found where they say. Anyway, my story was going to be
like a reclining.
Yeah. So let's say
chair.
my feet. Sometimes I've gone and I've had a pair of thongs on, and I've just let them. They've fallen off my feet, and I've just left my feet dangling there. Because I'm like, I'm not putting them up on the chair in front of me. I'm not like.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm gonna go and ask.
I feel like it's gonna be okay because it's an Australian thing, maybe with the thongs. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think thongs are an American thing, so
maybe yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a hot take to wear thongs.
I don't know. Like in a crowded room, I feel like that would be weird.
Yeah, I feel like that would be in a crowded room. I feel like
like if it happens in the course of the movie, you didn't purposely do it.
No, I didn't. And there's no one next to me. I'm just like, I'm just chilling.
Yeah. Avoid rapper noise. Not everyone snacks or popcorn while enjoying movies. Some people tend to bring in a pack of chips or wrappers of candy, and that's completely fine. The grievance comes when a person struggles to open the plastic packaging, causing all other members to listen on the various crackles and crunches. No harm is intended, I'm sure, but a couple of ways to avoid this would be to pre-open your wrappers prior to the movie, or to muffle the sound by opening wrappers underneath a jacket or a piece of layered clothing. Small act goes a long way in preserving the sanctity of the space.
Yes. So you should, if you're watching an action film and you know an action scene is going to happen and you know you need to open a can or a wrapper, you wait and you do it quickly and you get that bad boy open. if you need to open a drink and you're busting, I know it's annoying. Sometimes you just want to that can open, but if characters having a very serious conversation at the time, and you're like the very emotional scene, it is very distracting to hear, well baby, I just I love you so much, like so yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, either pre-open the stuff before the movie starts, or pick a particularly noisy section where it's not going to affect anything. Final rule that I've seen multiple times: pick up your bloody popcorn. That's why they hire these people to clean up my mess. No, they're plenty busy. From cinema staff will appreciate having a few less kernels to scoop if we're all bothered. Do a quick check of our seats and try and gather as much lost foot corn with those empty buckets as possible before leaving the theatre. If you have never chucked your own used cup and wrappers in the cinema bins, you don't have the right to whine about how sticky the floor is.
Yeah, so obviously, you know how much this is going on because I posted a picture on social media about these fucking kids who threw their popcorn all on the floor. But here's I'll go further in this. If you spill your drink, shit happens, right? I'm not going to say that you spill your drink, you're a bad person automatically. If you spill your drink in the middle of the movie, I don't care if you're like, it's endgame. You get up, you go tell someone that you just spilled your drink all over the floor. And they should give you something that you can quickly put down and they can get into it afterwards, but at least do that much. If you drop a couple pieces of popcorn on the floor, that's fine. They're going to come around, do a quick vacuum anyway, and that level of leaving behind, I'm fine with. I don't expect people to get on the ground and pick up the couple kernels that fell off their shirt onto the ground.
Yep.
However, when you leave the movie theater, you don't leave your drink sitting in a cup holder. You take it, you put it in the bin. You don't leave the empty bag of lollies. You take that and you put in the rubbish. You don't leave all your rubbish just sitting there. A couple things on the ground is totally fine, in my opinion, but otherwise, everything else you pick up and take.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. You know, what are these heathens throwing the popcorn over the place? Some of the images I've seen of popcorn on the ground, I don't even know. Did you even get it in your mouth?
Did you even eat any? Yeah.
Did you just put it? Did you spend $16 specifically to dump it on the floor? You know, what? Are you massive Lonely Island fans? You want to throw it on the ground? Is that what this is? Fucking hell! So yeah, follow those etiquette rules, please. You know, anything we missed?
Trying to think. I feel like that was like the core. I feel like that is the core thing. Right? I can't think of anything.
I mean, the only other things, be prepared. Like, don't come in. Try and avoid coming in late.
If you do come in late, you better
make sure you check.
Fast.
Check your seat. If it's a seated,
yep.
if it's the right seat, just avoid that awkward situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that difficult to figure out which seat is which. Generally,
yeah, and yeah, I'll say on that. So if you're at a cinema that does allocated seating, I don't care if there's only, you're like, oh, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, there probably won't be many people here, I've picked a random seat, I'll just sit wherever. Nah, too bad. You go sit in the one, or at least you go sit in the one, unless you want to come in late so you know that it's not, because someone else like me may have purposely picked my favorite seat and you're sitting in it. I'm going to ask you to fucking move because I want that fucking seat. I don't care if there's only 10 other people there.
Yeah. Also, if there's a very small number of people in cinema, don't go sit up right next to the person.
Yeah, that's very weird.
That's very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I think we covered most of it. I'm sure there's totally... Also, I guess, don't get into fights. Weirdly, that's a one that needs to be brought up.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I've had some weird. I mean, it's all these little things, little stories. But I feel like that's the core stuff. I mean, I'd be like that time I went and watched one of the Planet 8 movies, and there was an older kid dropped off with his younger brother, and he had to constantly whisper in his younger brother's ears, because he couldn't read the subtitles. Like shit like that I've had to deal with over my years. I'm like,
have children at age appropriate movies.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't be like that kid that went to see the Batman with you.
Yeah, had to leave.
Had to leave like 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
After someone gets brutally murdered. So yeah. All right, let's move into giving some thumbs to trailers. Of course, you can find all the trailers we've had to talk about in the show notes below. Let's start off with The Good Mother, directed by Miles Yoris, Perfect, starring Hilary Swank, Olivia Cooke, Jack Renner, and Hopper Penn. After the murder of her estranged son, journalist Marissa Bennings forms an unusual alliance with his pregnant girlfriend to track down those responsible for his death. Together, they confront a realm of narcotics and dishonesty within the city of Albany, unearthing a deeper, more sinister revelation. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
Yeah, I'll go double thumbs up. I'm trying to remember who the fuck. I'll go double thumbs up. I think that the weirdest thing for this one is that I don't know. I couldn't really figure out what. I'm like, is this just a mystery thing, or is it just a drug killer killed? I guess that's the point of the movie, right? Is that the yeah? That's the point of the movie. There's a bunch of stars. I felt like it was a well put together trailer, but I also feel like this is one of those trailers where I'm like, are you trying to trick me? And it's just a well put together trailer, and this is going to be a basic ass bitch like thriller. But I'll go double thumbs up for this one. Cast is good.
Yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up. I trust Olivia Cooke to make the choice. Yeah, it looks a solid thriller. Good cast, like Hilary Swank. I feel hasn't been doing much lately, so this is cool to see her again. Yeah, interesting. Like, drugs. Am I right?
Yeah, drugs.
All right, so this one is releasing in the US on the 1st September, no Australian release date. Next trailer is for King of Killers, directed by Kevin Gavu.
Done it.
Starring Frank Grillo, Stephen Dorff, Maria Avgeropoulos, and Alan Moosey. Garen is a part of a group of international hitmen who are contracted to take out the most dangerous killer in the world, only to find out they're the ones being hunted. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
I'm going to go one up, one down. I thought the trailer was pretty average. I feel like there could be some decent fight scenes in it. Like a bunch of the cast are like action movie star people. I don't feel like that was shown well in the trailer, however. I'm a bit of a sucker for, I'm forgetting what his name is now. What's his name? The main dude?
Alan Moosey?
No, the bad guy.
Frank Grillo?
Frank Grillo. I'm a bit of a sucker for Frank. Like, Frank Grillo just plays the same character in most things, but I enjoy him being Frank Grillo. So, yeah, I'm going one up, one down.
Yeah, I'll go one up, down, one down as well. It's like kind of weirdly cut. Clearly positioning Frank Grillo as like the big character. It's like as if Crossbones was competent. So interesting concept. I guess like a competition element with a bunch of hitmen.
It's like John Wick combined with, I don't know, like
Hunger Games or something.
Hunger Games, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, interesting idea. Hopefully the action is good. Like it's from one of the guys who created Underworld, so I don't know if that helps raise interest, but yeah. This one is also releasing on September 1st and also has no Australian release date. Next trailer is for The Kill Room, directed by Nicole Paone, starring Uma Thurman, Joe Manganiello, Maya Hawke, Debbie Mazur, Dre Hemingway, and Samuel L. Jackson. A hitman, his boss, an art dealer, and a money laundering scheme that accidentally turned the assassin into an overnight avant-garde sensation, one that forces her to play the art world against the underworld. So, Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
Double thumbs up. I really like this. It reminds me of or at least the style of it reminds me of early like 2000 films like fucking John Travolta, Big Shorty, or whatever the fuck that and the sequel to that. Fuck, what is that goddamn film called? I've watched it a million times. Get Shorty. Fuck, Get Shorty, and then the sequel, which was called like something else. What the fuck? Hold on. No, it's gonna kill me. Hold on. I swear. What is it? Hold on, Google. Get Shorty sequel, because The Rock's in it. Be Cool. All right, so Get Shorty or Be Cool. Either of those films. Sort of similar vibe of that to this. It reminded me of. And Uma Thurman is in the first one or something, I think. Uma Thurman and Maya Hawke in the same film, though. There you go. Shout outs. Double thumbs up. Keen. it looked crazy, sort of interesting plot point, and I'm like, that's actually a good idea. Hey, like that's a good way to launder money. And then when they reveal that people start liking the art, I'm like, that's sort of making fun of the art world. So sure.
Yeah. I'll give it 1 up, 1 down. It just has like an odd tone that I didn't particularly vibe with. I mean, it's interesting all the cast involved, like Uma Thurman and Samuel L. Jackson. You would expect them in this kind of a movie. Maya Hawke in this as well, working with her mother for the first time, which I feel like maybe is a custody thing because she's also working with Ethan Hawke on something recently. So it's like one with each parent at
One with
the
Matt,
moment.
one with mum, one with dad. Apparently Liv
Uh,
Morgan's in this.
yeah, apparently Liv Morgan is in this movie. Very odd. But yeah, the very amusing the idea of German Negro character becoming a massive art person and like him being called the bag man, and you've got all these plastic bags that it seems like he's murdered people with, and then is putting them up for art display, like using them, giving away selling the evidence of these murders or potentially is an interesting idea. So yeah, definitely one I'll be interested to check out. So this one's releasing in the US on the 28th of September. No Australian release date. Next trailer is for Telemarketers, created by Adam Bala-Lug and Sam Lipman-Stern. 2 office workers at a telemarketing call center in New Jersey discover the truth behind the work they've been doing. Under the impression they're raising money for firefighter and police charities, the money is actually going towards their employers. When the company is shut down, they seek to expose their telemarketing industry. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer for a documentary series?
Double thumbs up. Can't wait. I watched this the other day when it came out. I think literally right after we recorded, or maybe it was the next day, Wednesday. And I was gonna wait and see. And if you didn't include it on the list, I was gonna be like, no. For once, I'm overriding. We need to remove something for this because watched the trailer and I was like, this just looks absolutely insane. So yeah, I can't wait. And the fact it's also like from the Safdie brothers producing, I'm like, sure, why not? Danny McBride. Okay, whatever. It's like such a weird, like sort of producing stuff, but yeah, double thumbs up. Can't wait.
Yeah, double thumbs up from me as well. Like, clearly something that I've been working on for a long time. Like, you can see between the quality of some of the footage. Just interested to see the deep dive into this world of scam artists and that kind of stuff. As they point out, like it's $20 billion industry that we kind of can't do anything about. Like, how's the government supposed to shut these kind of things down? And they're kind of preying on the weakest and most vulnerable people is kind of fucked up. And yeah, the list of executive producers on this film is crazy. Safdie brothers, Melanie McBride, Jodie Hill, David Gordon Green, like a whole bunch of people are involved. So definitely keen to check this series out. So it starts releasing on a binge from the 14th of August.
Cool. One of the trailers we watched actually has a release date.
It does. Last trailer for this week. Dicks, the musical. Directed by Larry Charles. Starring Megan Mullally, Megan Thee Stallion, Bowen Yang, Nathan Lane, Aaron Jackson, and Josh Sharp. 2 business adversaries who realize their identical twin brothers decide to switch places to reunite their divorced parents so they can all become an actual family again. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Dicks, the musical?
I'm I'm gonna double thumbs down on the trailer. I don't hate the idea of the film, and I feel like it could be good. I just don't feel like the trailer was good. So I'm gonna commit to double thumbs down. I just feel like it was a weirdly put together trailer, weirdly edited trailer. I feel like it was going for shock factor selling the movie, I guess. I don't know. Like I don't know. Yeah, I double thumbs down.
I'm gonna go 1 up, 1 down, but definitely leaning more towards 2 down. I feel like I feel like it's the music editing. It's like it'll just transition quickly into like a completely different song, which doesn't really work in a trailer. You need to have like a consistent theme, or like you can have like one specific
one song
music
and usually
change.
just edit stuff from different songs, but that one song's playing in the background of the trailer because it just makes the trailer better. It doesn't matter if they're singing a different song
Just
in that
kind
part.
of
like just
fits, yeah. But they'll clearly try to do, like you
They're
said,
like,
some
look
shock
at
value,
yeah.
making crazy things that people singing. They want to showcase that Megan Thee Stallion is actually very much involved and will be performing. Yeah, it's a weird one. Like a weird male version of the Parent Trap or whatever. So apparently it's based on an off-Broadway musical called Fucking Identical Twins
Sure.
by the two actors. So that's why they specifically say we're two fucking identical twins, even though they're clearly not identical twins.
No.
Not related at all. But yeah, very odd.
Yeah, it could be good, but that's the same. The trailer just, I didn't like the trailer.
Yeah. Although the Sewer Boys, am I right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Very weird. All right, so this is releasing in American cinemas on the 29th of September. No Australian release date. I think that's the worst batch of trailers. Like,
I think so.
date-wise.
Other than telemarketer, everything we just talked about has no Australian release date.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into this week's top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
And here in Australia, we are finally getting Asteroid City.
A year later.
3 months, but feels like a year. Is it playing in cinema near you this week?
Fuck no. What are you talking about?
It's a pretty big, I guess,
Slow talk to me. I would have thought Australian film brought up by anyway, don't get me started.
All right. So this week we're doing top 3 Wes Anderson films. So Dylan, what's your number 3?
I decided to do a top 5 because doing top 3 is too hard. No, fuck, I've got 5 in front of me. I've got to make it up as I go. It's just this is a hard one. Like, this is actually a really hard one. I'm gonna go with this. Fuck, I'm gonna go actually with Bottle Rocket as my number 3. So
Wow.
this was one of the hardest movies to track down years and years and years ago when I finally got to watch it. But it is like the I guess the most you can see how I mean, you watch Bottle Rocket, then you watch Rushmore, like you can see the style eventually end up where Wes Anderson films end up, but the comedy of this is just so, like, you can see where it starts, and the fact that this is the film where you get to see Owen Wilson fuck up his nose is also just is a well selling point. You can watch this and he has a normal nose.
You can watch this and see his
yeah, you can watch this and it has a normal nose. So. But yeah, it's just like I just think the 3 of them. So you've got both the Wilson star, and it's this plot about fuck. I mean, it gets convoluted, but it's basically they. I mean, long story short, they just want to rob someone and like just do like these 2 sort of idiotic brothers, and like Owen Wilson's character is like the leader basically, and then he brings his brother along, played by Luke Wilson, and then they have a third person, but I can't remember who played the third person off the top of my head, to be honest. But they're trying to do this plot, and then just of course everything goes wrong, and it's very funny. It's very like indie film, obviously, because they wrote it. It was written by Owen Wilson and Wes Anderson, and then directed by Wes Anderson. But it's just it's the style, and it's just like the simplicity of it, I guess. Maybe that also I like so much. Like it's Wes Anderson, but before a lot of the having the ability to do a lot of the weird and wacky stuff he does now, but you still see his weird and wacky sort of style that he wants, but he has to do it just shooting a normal movie. So it's mostly the editing, I guess, more so than the. And you get to see that again when you go watch Rushmore after this, because that's all in the editing and framing as well. But yeah, I actually like Bottle Rocket a little bit more than Rushmore.
All right. My number 3 is Moonrise Kingdom. Of course, the film in which it's about 2 young kids in love who run away together, and everybody's kind of like trying to find them again. Definitely highly stylized. I feel like I might have been one of the early ones that I saw of his like work. Yeah, just really good performances. Obviously, Adrian Brody and Bruce Willis. No, not Adrian Brody. Edward Norton. Really good, and obviously Tilda Swinton and the two kids, fantastically cast. Really cool. Yeah, really enjoyable. So Moonrise Kingdom, number 3. Dylan, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Moonrise Kingdom. So everything you just said. I mean, the relationship between the two kids, I guess, makes this movie what it is, and like that's where sort of it would fall apart if they weren't as charming and as endearing as they are. But I also think this is one of my favorite things that Bruce Willis has ever done. So, like, he's actually likable in this movie, which is such a crazy thing. And yeah, I love Bill Murray and this and everything else. But this is also just this is getting into more of his current style of stuff, but like just the framing and the editing and all that sort of stuff, but and just such weird characters and everything, and it's a very funny film. So yeah.
No. My number 2, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
My number 1, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, yeah, just fantastic animated stop motion film. Just such delightful characters, such silly stories, like just all the little animal creatures in the human clothes. Just a delightful film to look at, and then just the dialogue delivered and the lines. If you're thinking about doing what I think you're thinking, stop. I think it's a line. I can't remember.
I went and found my favorite line here too. So hold on, let me read out my favorite exchange from the movie. I made sure I got it so I can get it right. Mole, I just want to see a little sunshine, Mr. Fox. But you're a nocturnal, Phil. Your eyes barely open on a good day. Mole, I'm sick of your double talk. We have rights. I think George Clooney's delivery and everything as well, just it's so good, all the characters and everything. It's just such funny little back and forth. I think the reason I like the movie so much is because there's so many just like back and forth quick lines like that, and then it just goes to the next thing that you sort of miss a lot of it. And I've watched the movie a few times and it's still funny every time you watch it. And of course the stop motion animation is just top notch. It's fantastic, but I definitely feel like the voice acting combined with the script and the way it's just everything come together perfectly, I think, of this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Just incredible. Like, just you cussing with me? You cussing me?
It's so funny, and it's like a kids movie, but it works perfectly as adults will get a lot of the jokes that kids won't, and then kids will just enjoy it for funny talking animals. Like it works.
Crazy. My number 1, the Grand Budapest Hotel. Just a stellar cast, really fun story, about priceless paintings, just jumping all over the place. Just it is just an incredible light, the most Wes Anderson thing so far that I've seen. So I love Grand Budapest Hotel. But I agree. This was a tough one because he's got a lot of really good films, and some of them I haven't seen in a while. Like I haven't watched Royal Tenenbaums in a decade.
I did a rewatch of all his films prior to, I guess it would have been Grand Budapest. Yeah, it probably was just before Grand Budapest. I think I did a rewatch at that point. Well, not a rewatch. I did rewatch it once I hadn't seen it, and that was when I had the Trakt down, Bottle Rocket and Rushmore for the first time.
Yeah. All right, Dylan. This week, what do you want to watch?
I mean, I want to watch Asteroid City. I mean, maybe they'll add screenings. I don't know, but that would be my movie pick. I mean, I wouldn't mind I don't know. Yeah, so that's my movie pick. Fuck it. Do I care about anything else? I don't know. Not really. No, to be honest.
Yeah, Asteroid City is my pick. I guess there's that Painkillers series is launching on Netflix this week.
Yeah.
Strange Planet is coming to Apple TV Plus.
I've got the Dracula movie.
Yeah. Let's find out if that's as terrible as you thought it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, that fucking trailer, man, it looks so bad, but I've seen other people write, they're like, no, it's actually like, it's decent. I'm like, okay, well, maybe, but fucking trailer was trash.
Like, how upset are you going to be if that's showing at a cinema and not Asteroid City?
I'll be really
Talk to
annoyed.
me.
I'll go watch it if that's what I have. Like, if that's my choice, I'll watch it. But
Oh yeah, and also a day of recording. Only Murders in the Building season 3 is starting, so I'm looking forward to
is
that.
it just one episode a week, or
Yeah,
they're not like a week behind the US or anything?
no, it's pretty close, fast tracked.
Okay.
All right, let's know what you're excited to watch this week by going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter and letting us know on X, or go to explosion.com/Discord, or just find us at Explosion Pod on most social media. If you want to help us out here at What Do I Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars anywhere you can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Kobe page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.